Hi, everyone. My name is Reshmina William, and I'm one of the trial managers for OWL's Trial Reservoir Initiative, here today to tell you all a little bit more about the program and how it works. First, let's clear up what we mean by a trial in this context. We're not talking about prototype scale validation and demonstration, but rather a proof of feasibility within an actual real world operation environment. The type of situation where an end user can see the immediate benefits of deployment. These types of trials are typically most beneficial for mature technologies that are looking to expand into a new market or expand their commercial footprint. Now, in general, these types of trials are seen as a very good thing in the industry because they can allow new technologies to overcome some common adoption hurdles. Technology demonstrations provide credibility by providing concrete evidence that technology will work as intended. They also improve end user engagement and buy in. They might even be a requirement for some of the procurement processes of certain industrial and municipal end users. Finally, trials allow for feedback and design iteration to meet evolving stakeholder needs while reducing the costs for future implementations. So, yes, proof of value trials are typically a good thing. However, their implementation can also be a pitfall in the path to commercialization. The Trial Reservoir Initiative specifically exists to help entrepreneurs across the piloting valley of death, the unfortunate catch-22 that faces many startups in the water market, which is uniquely competitive and risk-averse. Vendors need to pilot their technologies to prove their value and scalability in the field. In other words, to build a track record of success. However, utilities often don't have the funds to trial every technology that comes through the door. So even if a trial commences and is successful, there's no guarantee of long-term procurement of the technology. Vendors can thus become stuck in the piloting valley of death, conducting trial after trial at multiple utilities without making a sale. The trial reservoir is intended to break this cycle, de-risking and accelerating the uptake of proven but not widely used technologies across the water industry. The Trial Reservoir Initiative is a series of repayable grants that can be used to support technology trials to de-risk the process of demonstrating new best practices. Now, there are two factors that make the Trial Reservoir unique. The first is that users make a meaningful upfront commitment that will allow the vendor to recoup their costs if a trial is successful. So that could look like, but isn't limited to, procurement, limited deployment, larger scale demonstration, or inclusion in a follow-up RFP. The second thing that makes the Trial Reservoir unique is the fact that if a trial is not successful, vendors are not required to repay their original grants. So together, both of these terms help to decouple the piloting process from financial risk for both vendors and end users. So how does this work in practice? The trial reservoir model is an iterative process that can be broadly broken down into three phases. Identification, which is all about matching the right vendor with the right context. Design, which ensures that all stakeholders are aligned around the same set of measurable KPIs. And delivery, or the actual trial itself, and the monitoring and post-trial evaluation that goes along with it. So during the initial scoping phase, the Trial Reservoirs Initiative brings together relevant stakeholders from both the end user and the technology vendor to shape the trial's objectives and determine how much funding the vendor would like to borrow from the pool. In parallel, all trial managers conduct rigorous due diligence to ensure that the opportunity aligns with the program's criteria. Trial Reservoirs does not work with early research and development pilots, but rather with mature technologies seeking to demonstrate their capabilities within a specific user context. During the design phase, the Trial Reservoirs Initiative offers hands-on technical and program management support to define the trial scope, duration, and budget in close collaboration with both the end user and the tech vendor. A core focus at this stage is the development of clear, objective, measurable, and timely key performance indicators, or KPIs, which are aligned with the end user strategic goals. These KPIs form the foundation for informed decision-making and post-trial evaluation. This phase also includes support in drafting a forward-looking trial and purchase agreement, or TNPA. This is a key deliverable that outlines the conditions for long-term adoption tied directly to the trial performance against the agreed-upon KPIs. The utilities commitment outlined here can take on many different forms, but it serves as a meaningful declaration of intent that will allow the tech vendor to recoup the costs of their trial. Finally, the delivery phase. Once the trial is approved, funds are dispersed to the vendor and the trial can commence. A designated Trial Reservoirs Initiative Manager is assigned to the project to monitor progress and ensure a seamless communication between the vendor and the end user throughout the course of the project. At the trial's conclusion, performance is assessed against the previously defined success criteria. If the technology meets expectations, the end user fulfills the commitment outlined in the TNPA, and the vendor uses those funds to begin paying back the grant to the reservoir, thus replenishing the fund for future trials. However, if the trial does not meet its objectives, there's no repayment obligation on the vendor and no long-term commitment requirement for the end user, de-risking innovation for all parties involved. So, as you can see, the support provided by the Trial Reservoir program goes far beyond a simple financial model. We offer trial design support, ensuring that the metrics that come out of a trial are clear, objective, and measurable, and that they tie into the strategic requirements of our end users. Our goal is that at the end of the trial, everyone is crystal clear about what they're walking away with. At the end of the trial, we provide a third-party objective review of what's been achieved versus what's been promised to ensure that both the end user and the vendor are satisfied with the outcome. And finally, we help share your success stories on platforms like this one that reach over 85,000 water industry professionals per year in over 110 countries. If you'd like to learn more about the Trial Reservoir program, we encourage you to check out the many case studies, blog posts, and FAQs on our website. Or feel free to reach out to myself or Joe Burgess for more details.